Hello there. How are you? It is Dr. Siobhan here, founder of Relatable. I am so excited to kick off something I just decided to do called the 3-day marriage reset. So if this is your first time meeting me, hello there. I am a marriage coach and I specialize in helping women, amazing wives just like you, create happy and loving marriages without making over their husband. How in the world do you do that, right? So stick with me and you will find out exactly how to do that. So over the next 3 days, I am going to come on and coach you just as I would if you were one of the many clients in my private coaching practice. So I have the honor and privilege of working with women and couples to shift, reset, reboot some of the things happening in their marriage. And so I thought I would come on and share some of the things that I work with my clients on with all of you. There are so many common themes whenever I sit down and look at a couple in our first session together or speak with a wife who's participating in my services virtually. Many times I hear the same sort of thing. So whenever you hit a rough patch in your marriage, a rough season, a rough time period, there's this tendency to think that everything is going wrong, to focus on all that's not going well, to focus on all the ways your marriage is failing and falling apart and all of the things that are just not unfolding the way you imagine they would. And whenever we get into that mindset that everything is going wrong, that there's no light at the end of the tunnel, we get stuck. And so part of these next 3 days with this marriage reboot is really just an opportunity for us to explore together how to rethink what's happening in our marriage so that we can actually arrive at a happier, more loving, and more fulfilled place and existence with each other. So today I am posing this question: do you really know what you want? Part of the process of healing and repairing and restoring and resetting and rebooting any marriage involves being crystal clear on what it is you want. One of the questions I always ask my clients is, what is it that you want from your spouse that you are not getting? Sometimes people get really stuck. They don't even know what it is they're not getting that they want because they haven't really thought about what it is they want. They've spent a lot of time looking at what they don't want, what they want to stop, right? And less time thinking about what is it that you now have the opportunity to create. And so that is where we will start our conversation today. What is it that you are looking to create? Bumps in the road, rough patches, difficult times in a marriage really offer you an unlimited opportunity to create something new. Any challenge is the opportunity to grow and to become better, to create something better. And so with that in mind, let's delve into this very topic. What is it that you actually want? I want you to get specific. I want you to actually create mental pictures, images, moments in time that represent the exact thing that you want to be a reality in your marriage, okay? So that all is step number one in this first day of our marriage reset. Create a vision for what it is you want. Now, I want you to think about this vision in a number of dimensions. Marriage is a very broad, multi-factored, multi-layered thing, right? There's not just one aspect of marriage. And so I'm going to share with you 7 specific areas that I want you to give a little bit of thought to in terms of what is the vision, what is the exact thing that you want to create in your marriage right now, okay? So the first area is communication. I picked this verse because without fail, every single time, whenever I talk to a couple or whenever I talk to a wife, I ask, what is it that's not working well? Communication, hands down, always the number one thing. I know in doing the work that I do that communication is actually a function of a lot of other things happening in the marriage, mainly perception, resentment, and mindset issues that just come out in the words we choose to say to each other. But we don't have time to go into all of that right now. What I want you to do is to identify what is it you want your communication to look like. How will you feel when you are communicating with each other? I like to use the term effortless communication. I think every couple would raise their hand and say, I want effortless communication. What does that mean to you? What does effortless communication look like to you? Spend just a minute jotting it down, right? Literally jotting it down, whether it's a note on your phone or a piece of scrap paper. What type of communication would you like to create in your marriage right now? That's number one. Number two is quality time. How would you and your spouse be spending time together? What would you be doing? How often would you be doing? How long would you be doing it, right? We're all busy. No one's pretending like nobody has to go to work and nobody's raising kids and nobody has other adult responsibilities. But what would the time spent be like? A lot of times when I speak with women, they just want teamwork time, right? Where you're taking care of the kids together, where both of you are getting up and getting the kids ready for the day, or both of you are cleaning up the kitchen, or both of you are folding laundry. Sometimes quality time also looks like just talking, just connecting and sharing the parts of your day with each other. So for you, what does quality time look like? What is it that you want to create in terms of the time you and your husband, and if men are watching, you and your wife spend together, right? The other thing is emotional support. This is so important for women, right? This is so important for us as wives. You want to know that your husband understands the struggles you have. He understands when you feel sad and when you're frustrated and when you're hurt, and that he's going to support you emotionally. He's going to empathize. He's going to console you. He's going to comfort you, right? What does that look like for you? What specifically type of emotional support are you desiring in your marriage? What is it you want him to start saying to you that maybe he's not saying right now? Be very, very clear. The fourth thing, is spirituality. So I didn't put this in the middle because it's less important than the others. I'm really speaking from the things that I hear from people most often. And so spirituality in your marriage specifically, what do you want it to look like? Does that mean you guys go to church together? Does that mean that you are praying together? Does that mean that you are reading the Bible together or listening to inspirational messages together? What does being spiritually aligned mean to you and your marriage? What does it mean for you as a wife to be spiritually aligned with your calling to be a wife? Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever thought about what it is God has called you to do as a wife? What is it you would like for your husband to be doing in the spiritual realm, right? What is it that God has called him to do? It's not your job to convince him or convict him of it. Maybe that's an area where you can enter into prayer, but you've got to be clear about what that actually is. You've got to be very detailed and specific about what it is you are creating in your marriage, okay? The other thing is collaboration. Again, so many times when I talk to women, especially those who are taking primary responsibility for raising children, right? Small children, busy children. What would it mean and look like for you to feel like your husband and you are in sync, that you are collaborating, that you are a team? What would be the very specific things he would help you? How would you help him? What are the things you would do together? And what does that feel like to you? How would you know that you guys have reached this ideal place of collaboration, of teamwork, of being in sync and on the same page with each other? Okay. Number 6 is intimacy. What does intimacy look like for you in a very ideal state? That's both physical intimacy and emotional intimacy. Now, if I'm talking to you as a wife, I know you're probably thinking right now, like, physical intimacy? No, right? If things are not as you'd like them to be, if your emotional needs aren't being met, if you don't feel in sync with each other, if you don't feel like your communication is good and that you're actually connected and spending that quality time with each other, the physical intimacy is going to be really hard. If that is a barrier for you right now, I want you to just release it, right? Release it for now and assume that all those other things are in place. What would physical intimacy look like for you? What would be the lead up? How often would you and your husband be physically intimate with each other? And emotional intimacy, what does that look like? What would be the things you share with each other? How vulnerable would you be? How comfortable would you be being vulnerable? How much would you let him inside your heart, right? What would letting that wall down look like in terms of emotional intimacy in your marriage? Be very, very clear and specific, right? The other thing is affection. What would affection look like? You know, a lot of times people are like, you know, I'd like him to snuggle up with me, give me a hug, tell me he loves me. What does affection look like in your marriage right now? Or in the future? Actually, we're projecting our vision for the future. So that's step number 1 in this marriage reboot. Again, if you're following along with me, I want you to also know there is a free guide. Click the link that is included with this video, okay? You'll get that guide. You'll be able to work through some of these things on your own. The other piece of all of this are beliefs you have to adopt. That's step number 2. What are the things you need to start believing for your marriage, right? I want you to become future focused, looking towards the future of what's possible. You want to exist in possibility versus the past focus, which is just replaying and showing back to you all the mistakes you guys have made, all the ways things are not working out. But you have to keep your eyes on the prize in your marriage. Set a goal. What is that future you are believing